So where I'm from, when somebody greets you with aloha, you always greet them back with aloha. So I ask you, after I give you my love and my greetings, to echo back with aloha. Harvard, friends, family, students, and faculty, aloha! Aloha! So before I share my story with you today, I am going to open with a hula, protocol hula that was done on Mauna Kea, which we will get into in my talk. But yeah, this might be a little different than any hula you have seen before, because it is a more ceremonial and protocol hula, but yeah. Thank you for allowing space for me to share my culture with you all today. Kiani Ku'ule Momi Akina. This is my full birth-given name, which was given to me by my great-grandmother, Viola Ku'ule Momi Clark Akina. My tutu gave my siblings and I our names. Today, I want to focus on the meaning of my first name, Kiani, which is a flick or a gentle overhead wave in hula gesture. I began dancing hula in the first grade when I was around 6 years old. I've been dancing hula ever since then, and I could spend hours and hours sharing lessons and stories that I have learned from dancing hula with you. But today I will share how hula brought me to my love for the land and for the environment. Every time I have danced hula, I have always felt connected to the land that I was standing on. But I began to feel a deeper connection to land when I realized that the land beneath my feet was not only biotic, but that it was also breathing and carrying a deep amount of mana, or as we say it in English, power. After my tutu passed away, I understood what my family meant when they would say that our ancestors are always with us. Iwi kapuna, or the remains of our ancestors' bones, fuel and give life to the land. Through the extension of my tutu, I realized that land is a living relative that cares for and embraces our ancestors. This realization opened my eyes to many of the environmental injustices and crises in Hawaii. TMT, the 30-meter telescope, was proposed to be built on Mauna Kea alongside 13 other telescopes already built on the Mauna, or mountain. Mauna Kea is a deeply sacred space and mountain, and it's a holding place for many Hawaiian traditions. Mauna Kea is the piko, or the umbilical cord, of Hawaii Island, aka the Big Island, and therefore us, the Hawaiian people. I recognize that I am a malahini to Hawaii Island, but as a Hawaiian, what impacts one of us impacts all of us. The construction of the proposed TMT would displace native species and deplete the native ecosystem. So, Native Hawaiians, Hawaii locals, and allies from across the world came together to protest the construction of TMT. This protection campaign fought to protect native land and rights by halting the construction of the telescope and demanding that TMT never be built on Mauna Kea. Throughout the protest, many of our elders and young folk were arrested. I remember being at a protest with my family. I was upset, I was frustrated, and I was confused. Land was hurting, and that hurt me. My culture and my history was on the line, and that terrified me. How could entities continue to push for a telescope to be built on a mauna when Native Hawaiians specifically and repeatedly said no? How could they arrest our kupuna? This movement brought the Lahui, or the Hawaiian nation, together, and it sparked yet another Hawaiian cultural renaissance. I want to return to the Hawaiian way of thinking of land as a relative. I invite you to imagine for a moment that this mauna, or this mountain, is your loved one. Maybe that's a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, or a partner. Would you want a foreign entity to come in and deplete them of everything that they are? To rip out their heart, their kidney, and their lungs? Because this is exactly what I felt when I learned about the proposal for TMT on Mauna Kea. Because it threatened the life and the prosperity of a relative that I love for and care for so deeply, one that has given life to my family, my ancestors, and me. These environmental injustices sparked the kuleana that I feel to care for land. Kuleana means responsibility in Olelo Hawaii, or the Hawaiian language, but the implications of this word run so much deeper than that. Kuleana is a lifelong commitment to something. It is a commitment backed by aloha while expecting nothing in return. My kuleana brought me to the work that I did this summer with Kuleana Coral Reefs. We incorporated the indigenous Hawaiian practice of kilo into their coral restoration frameworks. Kilo is the Hawaiian practice of observing the natural world to conduct environmental stewardship. In Hawaiian culture, we understand that everything from and in between the mountain and the ocean are deeply interconnected. Hawaiians regard coral as the beginning of life, therefore making it our oldest living kupuna, or ancestor. This is the kumulipo. It is the Hawaiian genealogy chant that includes our genealogy from time immemorial. Knowing that coral is our oldest living relative, we know that we have an inherent kuleana to care for it. In our work, we curated kilo sheets and took them on every single dive that we went on and made it an integral part of our scientific frameworks. We did it, and we can do it everywhere else. We incorporated indigenous science. Incorporating indigenous science looks like environmental stewardship. It looks like combating climate change. It looks like indigenous autonomy, and it looks like Hawaiian sovereignty. We can incorporate Hawaiian understandings of living with and caring for the land. We can begin to make climate policy that centers indigenous folks' voices and practices. By incorporating the understanding of aloha aina, ancestral abundance, Hawaiian kilo, and ancient water and land practices, we can mitigate the effects of climate change throughout the Pacific and throughout the world. With that being said, it is important that we call on our university to re-envision a reality for the Pacific that is equitable, livable, and sustainable for the Pacific and for the world. At this time, I call on Harvard to choose to reinvest funds into the Pacific through environmental organizations like the Pacific Climate Warriors at 350.org. With less than 50 of us here, Harvard must increase opportunities for more Pacific Islanders to attend this university. At a Native Hawaiian convention this summer, Auntie Twinkles said, "When you give somebody kuleana, you awaken their mana." The Pacific has been colonially overlooked but historically resilient in the midst of climate and environmental conversations. At this time, I ask you to think about the conversations that you have been a part of. Have the realities of the Pacific ever been included or discussed? Your answer to this question might be no. But today, you heard me. And today, you heard a Pacific voice. And because of that, you have kuleana. I invite you to take Dr. Hoag's nuclear imperialism class with me this upcoming spring. I am currently in their Pacific Worlds class, and there are only 4 other students there. Harvard needs to provide more Pacific Studies classes, and we need more Harvard students taking these classes. What if there were a lecture hall filled with hundreds of Harvard students, just like there are in Gen Ed 1094, Confronting Climate Change, and PS 11. What if, just as we have rallied behind fossil fuel divestment, we rally behind Pacific voices? I see this for us. Do you? When we give each other responsibility, we can fulfill it. Do you feel what I feel, a burning in your chest or a turn in your stomach? Because that is what mana feels like. I hope that today you were able to learn how I connect with land and how my people connect with land. I invite you to dream a new dream with me, to reimagine a Pacific that is clean and that is safe, one where kalo and salt farmers can continue our traditional practices of farming without flooding or dry lands, one where families who live along shores in multi-generational homes will not one day be forced to relocate, one where Hawaiian fishers can continue our traditional practices of fishing and feed our communities, one where Pacific folk do not have to fear the loss of our islands, our languages, and our cultures to rising sea levels. I want you to see this, and I want you to feel this with me. As we dream together, let us expand what and who we include in our climate conversations and solutions. Mahalo.